Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
You're listening to TFG Cricket.
Hello guys, welcome to a brand new episode of TFG Cricket Podcast. Today we are going to discuss about something which is not touched upon by media a lot. This is basically the Desert T20 Championship that is happening in UAE. And we have all the associate, not all, but major associate nations, fighting it out for this championship. It's like a Champions Trophy for associate nations, and it's a good tournament. It's a good initiative by ICC, but is ICC doing enough to promote it? I have Vivek Krishnan with me, and we'll be discussing on this today. Good teams, man. Afghanistan, Hong Kong, Ireland, Namibia after such a long time, Netherlands, Oman, Scotland, UAE. T20 tournament, I think this associate nations should only focus on T20s and one-dayers. They should not worry much about getting into, those test affiliations and all. It's a good tournament, but unfortunately, there are a lot of cricket lovers who would love to watch this. They can't watch.
Yes, Nikhil, like you said, fantastic tournament, a great initiative by the ICC. Before we get into the details and what's nice and what's not so nice about the tournament, yes, it is very, very disappointing that it's not aired live on television. We have basically no clippings. Yes, we find a few here and there on Facebook and Twitter, but nothing beyond that. We are not, we don't know what is happening. There are no highlights. And given the number of channels that are running these days, Nikhil, I think one channel should have probably picked up. I don't want to name any channel. Obviously, they have their own set of reasons as to why they are not ready to telecast it. But we as cricket fans, as genuine cricket fans, I want to say, I think we are deprived of some high quality action.
Yeah.
Whoever feels that, teams like Afghanistan or Namibia or Scotland cannot produce high quality cricket, I think they are wrong. At the end of the day, this is a level playing field. All 8 affiliate nations, I don't want to term them as minnows, because in T20 cricket, Nikhil, anybody can upset anybody on any given day. And I think this is the perfect platform. This is the only vehicle by which the ICC is going to further globalize the game. Number 2, you talk about exposure, you talk about playing regular cricket, and all these nations need regular cricket to grow into the game, to evolve. And because, many a times we see through the year's calendar, Ireland is playing England in a one-off T20. You see Scotland playing Afghanistan in a 3 T20 match. Then suddenly you see a team like Ireland playing Australia in a 2-match series. All this is very, very insignificant in my opinion. The primary objective of ICC has to be that, I'm going to get all these 8, 10, 12 nations and ask them to play regular cricket. Even if they are playing against one another, doesn't matter. I'm going to give them the T20 platform, because this is the only format. I mean, you mentioned about ODI cricket. I think ODI cricket is the next level. I think the basic where these teams can evolve, these teams can become better teams with exposure and experience is T20 cricket. Because remember, at the end of the day, any action is action, any experience is experience. Right, in 5 years or 6 years, these teams may eventually graduate into a 50-over team.
Yeah.
But that is for the future. How do you develop? How do you get to the future? This is a process. This is an evolution. And I think T20 is just perfect. Kudos to the ICC that they have realized this, and owing to which they have even staged the tournament. But what really concerns me is, like you mentioned earlier, have they done enough to promote the tournament? Has there been enough advertising, word of mouth, whatever? Has there been plenty said and written about it? I don't know. I've been looking for a lot of articles online. Unfortunately, I haven't found many of them. And this is, again, I don't know why this is, people tend to refrain from watching these smaller nations play. I don't know, because if you look at the scorecards, I think we have had good 2-3 games going to the last over.
Yeah.
We've had a last ball finish also.
Yeah.
And it's not been like one team has been overly dominant over the other. It's been a very, very competitive tournament. It's a level playing field. And which brings me to Namibia. Namibia, like when we were previewing the fantasy league, we said these guys have been reintroduced into cricket after a span of almost 14 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Tragedy, but the way they have been playing, you can easily say, boss, these guys are no pushovers. And I also mentioned this because out of 15, I think 8 or 9 people have been playing in South African List A cricket.
Yeah.
And now that is serious, demanding format and demanding conditions. Obviously, that is reflecting here. And I don't know, this is again not connected to the ICC, but it's a bit of a desperation move. You have to play some kind of a cricket. You cannot ask all these professionals not to play for 10 years, suddenly come represent your nation. That is going to be an absolute farce. So I just feel whatever political reason, whatever financial reason, whatever economical reasons, I don't care. I don't want to get involved in these things, and that's not my job. But as a cricket fan, now that we have this platform to talk whatever we feel in our mind, whatever is there in our heart, I just feel these teams need to play regular cricket.
Especially when we read a report that 11,000 Afghan fans, turned out to the match. Yeah. Now, just consider if, there will be definitely a lot of fans at home. Okay, and Afghanistan is, currently the situation that they are going through. A sport can, uplift the whole region. And you need to provide that kind of platform to them. If you're not providing, it's not of use. Even if Afghanistan is doing quite well in the series, in the championship, if you don't telecast it there, it's
absolutely, yeah. 11,000 fans. Obviously, it was between host team UAE and Afghanistan, and you saw about 11,000 Afghan fans crossing the border, going to the Emirates, watching. It was a carnival. It was a tremendous atmosphere. And I think the ICC has done a very good job. Not too many people know this. 2 semi-finals, finals on the same day. It's a Friday. It's a weekend in the Gulf. And that's why they have done a smart thing. And we expect a lot of people to come and watch the event unfold. But here again, I want to make a point. There have been 2-3 nations. Again, you talk about Nepal. Nepal has done wonderfully well. You talk about Kenya. Kenya has also done reasonably well. Teams have missed out. But yes, the future is there. The ICC has taken a step forward, and I think rather than making all these irrelevant series, for example, bilateral, like India plays Sri Lanka, Australia plays South Africa, West Indies plays Pakistan, I think the ICC has to realize, I understand the desperation to make money, because for any governing body, there has to be money. And I also understand India, England, South Africa, Australia generate a lot of money. And then what happens is a part of the fund is dedicated to development of these smaller nations. Good. There has to be a process. Nobody is here to do charity, because at the end of the day, the ICC also needs an income to direct it in the way of the minnows. So that's where I feel cut out these small series, because yes, how many people are going to watch, Nikhil? Do you even remember the last time India played Sri Lanka? You don't remember. Neither do I. The situation is, but this T20 tournament, the Desert tournament, even from a year from now, we'll remember. Number one, because it was the inaugural tournament. Number two, because we have seen 8 smaller nations play. And that's where, these guys have to play regularly. Talk about conditions. The inaugural tournament has been in the UAE. Now, why can't you go elsewhere? For example, I remember there was a time in 2000s where cricket was taken to Morocco for the very first time. I don't know what happened to that market. I remember a series where, if I'm not wrong, South Africa, Sri Lanka and Pakistan were playing in that series. And it was quite a success.
Toronto was a huge success.
Toronto obviously was a huge success, that we go back to the late 90s, I should say. But Morocco Cup, I remember, in Africa. And these are the things, that the ICC has to keep coming up with. What are the other venues? Australia, I don't know. South Africa, I'm just giving out options. You can come to India.
No, but it's a good idea to stage. If associate nations are playing, it's a good idea to, rotate this trophy, in all the different nations.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where I feel different venues also need to be considered. You have started off in the UAE, fantastic. You can come to India. You can explore Australia. You can go to Sri Lanka. You can go to the Caribbean. Why I'm saying this is, number one, all these 8 teams, all these 10 teams, all these 100 players get different exposure, get different experience. And also you talk about turnout. I'm pretty sure if you take these countries and these tournaments to smaller towns in India, you will see a fantastic turnout. And the reason I say that is because other than the big metros and the tier 2 cities, I'm not too sure cities like Mysore, cities like Jodhpur and all get great cricketing action. So maybe that again, these are the options, that we feel the ICC should consider. But in hindsight, it's been a wonderful step forward. And like the other factor that really boggles me is when William Porterfield and I think Peter Boren, they spoke about how the ICC is not keen on including these nations for the next World T20.
Yeah.
If you remember this was after they lost in India. So you need an incentive, Nikhil. You need a motivation. All these teams are winning, playing here. The team that wins, you need to play for something. Yes, you are playing for prize money and for that trophy, but there has to be an elevation in your career. Like, okay, if I win this, I qualify. It's sort of a promotion, relegation, whatever you want to call it. You feel, okay, let's say, for example, Afghanistan wins this tournament. The incentive should be, yes, now I graduate to the World League, wherein I'll play India, Pakistan, and West Indies and South Africa, these teams in the World Cup. So this incentive has to be given. At least out of 8 teams, take 3 teams, man. What's the big deal? Take 4 teams. I'm not asking you to stage a 50 over or a test match league. I mean, it's a T20 tournament. We have seen Kenya surprising Australia. We have seen Kenya surprising Sri Lanka. India have been surprised. You have seen Netherlands surprising England twice. This has happened in World T20, in World Cup T20. So this is very much a possibility.
All those discussions we had about reformatting cricket, in terms of home and away test, home and away matches, they can just try out with this associate nations. I mean, try out here and then you bring it on to the top level. If you think giving it to the top level is difficult.
Very much. That's why I say they have to get groomed here. And to get groomed here, they have to play enough cricket. Not that you start in Jan, you play an inaugural T20, suddenly for a year you disappear, come back the next year. The whole purpose is lost, right? So that's that.
Okay, guys.
But it's been a good start. It's refreshing to see that, and I think this tournament has a lot of meaning. After a long time, I think the ICC has been able to create an event like this. It's very nice.
Okay. That's it, guys. You can read more articles on our website, thefangarage.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Fan Garage. You can listen to our podcast on Indusworks Media, SoundCloud, Audio Boom, iTunes, and definitely don't forget to subscribe it on YouTube. Till then, take care.
Our podcasts bring all the boys to the yard, and damn right, they're better than yours. But you don't need to stand outside in the yard. Just follow IVM Podcasts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We might be on Tinder too. Just go ahead and swipe right.